This is a Bugatti Chiron, and it's currently the fastest production car you can buy. It'll do 261 miles per hour. It's also the most powerful production car you can buy. Back here is an 8-liter, quad-turbocharged, 16-cylinder engine making 1,500 horsepower. And yes, it's also the most expensive new production car you can buy. The base price is just under $3 million. Today, I'm going to take you on a full tour of it. I borrowed this Chiron from Bugatti, who are basically the only people crazy enough to let me drive it. This was organized by Grand Touring Autos in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. They're the Bugatti dealer here, and they also sell other exotics like Lamborghini, Bentley, and Rolls-Royce. They're opening a new location, and Bugatti lent them this car to display at the grand opening. But that's tomorrow. Today, I drive it, and I sincerely hope I don't crash it. Anyway, let's get to the important stuff. Bugatti has a history of making sports cars and race cars going back over a century. Volkswagen bought them about 20 years ago, and then they released the Veyron, the fastest car on Earth at the time. But the original Veyron had only 1,000 horsepower. And it could only do 253 miles an hour. Those numbers simply had to be beaten. So here we are. The Chiron has 1,500 horsepower, which, to be clear, is basically 6 Honda S2000s. The base price is $2.998 million, before options, which are surely plentiful and extravagant. This is also the fastest production car in the world that you can actually buy right now. It'll do around 260 miles an hour. Now, it's not quite as fast as the world record edition of the Veyron that could hit almost 270. Not that anyone will ever do that speed. But technically, you could. Today, I'll show you all the interesting quirks and features, and there are a lot of them. Then we'll get it out on the road and drive it. And finally, I'll give it a Doug score. Now I'm starting up front with the grille, a very distinctive horseshoe shape. It's been a Bugatti signature forever. My favorite Bugatti that used it is the EB110. It had a totally different front end that didn't really match the grille. And yet they used it anyway, because Bugattis must have this grille. Another thing I love up front is the headlight design. Those 4 little squares on each side look awesome. The flicker you see on camera is just the frame rate. In real life, the lights look solid. Turn on the headlights, and they come on in the middle of the outer 2 running lights. Turn on brights, and they light up between the inner 2. But my favorite is the turn signal. It shows up as 4 light strips below the running lights, a really cool look. And then there's the welcome lights. If you approach the car with the key in your pocket, the LEDs don't just turn on. They light up in a pattern like the car is greeting you. Inside the headlight housing, there's also a duct. And that duct cools the brakes. Yes, there's a channel that routes air from the headlights straight to the brakes. So they stay cool and provide maximum stopping power. Down in the front bumper, there's another air channel. It looks like it goes nowhere, it starts in the front and ends inside the wheel arch. But it's functional. It sends air to a specific spot to reduce turbulence along the side of the car, making it more aerodynamic at high speeds. Speaking of brakes, the front brakes are 16.5 inches. That's a wheel size on most cars. On the Chiron, it's the brakes. Back to the grille for a second, the Bugatti emblem. Bugatti says this is the one part they made unnecessarily heavy. Because it's made of silver. Of course it is. Now let's move to the trunk, which is up front. The trunk lid design looks like a Batman logo. It's awesome. This car is finished in blue carbon fiber. And Bugatti told me that carbon fiber meets in the center at a perfect 45-degree angle. And they accept nothing less. When you're charging $3 million, perfection is the minimum. Opening the trunk is like most sports cars. Pull a latch in the driver's footwell, then pull a latch under the hood, and it opens. Inside, there's a big black metal divider. And it's there for a weird reason. In North America, if your trunk is a certain uninterrupted volume, you're legally required to install an interior emergency trunk release handle. Bugatti didn't want to add that handle. So they added this divider to split the trunk volume in half, reducing the uninterrupted space just enough to avoid the regulation. That's why only North American Chirons have this divider. Bugatti says the trunk is sized for a carry-on suitcase, but the divider makes that a bit harder. There's also a strapped-in piece of luggage lined in Alcantara, and that holds the tire inflator kit. No room for a spare tire, so you get the inflator kit instead. There's a plaque back here too. It says where the car was built, and it says 1 of 500. Bugatti only planned to build 500 of these for the entire world. There's also a warning label. Temperature inside the trunk may exceed 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, don't put chocolate back there. Now let's move to the side. The most obvious feature is the silver sweeping C-line. They call it the Bugatti line. It looks beautiful, but it's also functional. It separates the rear fender and allows a ton of air to flow in, helping cool that massive engine. And it's one giant unbroken piece of aluminum that runs almost the entire side of the car. Right behind the door, you'll see what looks like a fuel door. Tap it, and it opens. But it's not fuel. That's where you add oil. The fuel door is on the other side, the exact same shape, but it has a gas pump icon instead of an oil lamp. Now to the back. On the engine cover, it says W16 on one side, and 1500 on the other. And you'll see Bugatti logos printed on the engine, which is a cool detail. But here's the thing, you can't access the engine. You can't open this and mess with it yourself. Probably a good thing. That's why the oil fill is on the side. Everything else is for professionals. You'll also notice a center line running across the engine bay. That line continues through the entire car, even into the interior. Back here, there's a full-width red light strip across the center. Bugatti calls it the kiss goodbye. Because if you try racing a Chiron, that's what you'll see as it disappears. And then there's the wing. It has multiple positions depending on drive mode. In handling mode, it adjusts for more downforce for corners. In top speed mode, it lowers to reduce drag. And under hard braking, it shoots up as an air brake to help slow you down. The wing is carbon fiber, and even underneath, it's carbon fiber. Bugatti added carbon fiber under the carbon fiber, just in case someone parks it with the wing up. So it always looks perfect. The brake lights are also interesting, with a sculpted arrow shape up top that lights and blinks with braking and turn signals. The third brake light is hidden. But when you brake, you see a thin strip above the Bugatti logo. Now we have to talk about the elephant on the bumper. For US spec Chirons, Bugatti adds big black plastic bumper blocks to meet the US 5 mph bumper regulation. No other country gets these. Only the US cars. And I'm guessing most owners remove them immediately. Now let's listen to the sound. Now we're moving inside. You open a surprisingly light door, because it's carbon fiber. Down by the seat, there's a keyhole. That's where the speed key goes. If you want the car's full top speed, you have to insert that key to activate top speed mode. The speed key lives right next to the keyhole. You pop it open like a Volkswagen or Audi folding key. Stick it in, and you unlock the highest speed mode. But you can't just insert it and go 260. The car runs checks, oil, cooling, everything, to make sure it's safe to go that fast. Without the speed key, top speed is limited to about 236. The regular key looks like this. It's wrapped in leather, says Bugatti, and has only lock and unlock buttons. The car has proximity entry, so you don't need to pull the key out. There's also a key storage slot to the right of the steering wheel. Put it there while driving. But don't forget to take it when you get out. Next to the speed key area, you've got the parking brake and seat memory buttons, pretty standard. On the door panel, the window switches and door locks are combined into one clean piece. It looks really cool. Mirror controls look surprisingly normal. Left, right, fold, heaters. And yes, the mirrors fold in. Inside the cabin, the materials are ridiculous. Leather, aluminum, carbon fiber. Nothing is pretending to be something else. If it looks like carbon, it is. If it looks like aluminum, it is. There are storage cubbies everywhere. 2 in each door, a center cubby, a glove box. And the glove box is cooled. So you can keep a drink cold in your Chiron. Under the center stack, there's another storage slot. And because the car has double pane glass for quietness, which can reduce phone signal. Bugatti designed it so your phone can use the car's antenna through the windshield for better reception. Now you might notice something shocking. There's no center touch screen. Bugatti did this on purpose. They wanted the interior to be timeless. Because screens age terribly. So instead, the speedometer is analog. Built to look good in 40 or 50 years. When everyone laughs at today's screens. The air vents are small, but they blast AC just fine. And their movement is unusual, side to side normally. But up and down with a dial in the center. Bugatti also claims this car has the first airbag in the world. That shoots through carbon fiber. The passenger airbag deploys through carbon fiber. And the side airbags deploy through the carbon fiber seats. Now to the center dials, they're insane. By default, they're climate controls. But if you hold the button below the seat icon, the dials transform into performance displays. Power output, speed, RPM, gear. And you can configure them to show other info too. Like trip stats and cruise data. The gear lever is also unusual. Pull down for drive. Move left for neutral. Neutral plus down for reverse. And press the top anytime for park. Also, it says press to park with a lowercase p4 press and uppercase p4 park. No idea why. It's one of the mysteries of the Chiron. Now remember the Bugatti C-Line outside? It continues inside too. Running down the middle of the cabin and splitting the rear window into 2 pieces. And it lights up at night. Bugatti says it's the longest uninterrupted interior light conductor in the car industry. And honestly, I believe it. Everything can be customized. Seats say Chiron, but you could pay to have them say anything. Same with the stitched floor mats. They said they basically try to do whatever customers want. The driver's sun visor has no mirror. Because if you're driving one of these, you already know you look cool. The passenger visor does have a mirror. Stereo controls? There's a simple on-off button below the gear lever. Press it, radio on. Press again, radio off. Now to the steering wheel. At the bottom it says Chiron. Above that, LC for launch control. Bugatti claims they refused to sell the car. Until it could do 200 launch starts in one day. Without transmission issues, overheating, or failure. There's an engine button, press to start, press to stop. And then there's the drive mode dial. EB mode for normal driving. Autobahn mode for highway. Handling mode for track. Lift mode for extra ground clearance. And top speed mode only works with the speed key inserted. The stalks are interesting too. Cruise control is hidden as an unlabeled toggle on the turn signal stalk. Plus/minus buttons at the end adjust speed. On the wiper stalk, there's also a dimmer for the gauge cluster. Bugatti found places to hide controls to keep the interior clean. Even without a center touch screen, there is an infotainment screen. Inside the gauge cluster. Menus show trip details, tire pressure, stopwatch, navigation, stereo. And there's even an octane setting. The car is tuned for 1,500 horsepower on 93 octane. If you put in lower octane, you're supposed to change it here. And it limits power to 1,100 horsepower to protect the engine. Yes, even a Bugatti can beep at you with a speed warning if you set it. The right screen is for most functions. The left screen shows RPM and horsepower usage. And can even display exact engine RPM down to single digits. Open the door, and it shows a top-down image of an actual Chiron. Not a generic car. A real Chiron silhouette. At night, it even projects Chiron onto the ground. Now for the scary part. I'm getting on the road in a car worth more than my house in my neighborhood. But first, I had to get gas. Yes, I filled up a Bugatti Chiron at a Petro-Canada, next to a Mitsubishi Outlander and a Dodge Journey. After that, I drove it for about an hour, mostly at higher speeds. And I'm not going to lie. I was nervous. The first impression is just, oh my God. I'm in one of these. You look down at the steering wheel, see the Bugatti logo. And you think, how did my life lead to this? Even tapping the throttle, you can feel there's so much more power waiting. That was just a small tap. And it's already unbelievably fast. There's some turbo delay if you ease into it. But if you slam it, the car knows exactly what you want. And it delivers instantly. It's quicker than a Porsche 918 Spyder. But it feels less wild and more refined. The 918 felt like a crazy go-kart. Loud and insane. This feels like you could cruise at 300 miles an hour like it's nothing. It's so comfortable you could almost forget you're in a Bugatti. Until you touch the throttle and reality hits you again. At stoplights, it feels calm. Double pane windows keep it quiet. It honestly behaves like a luxury car, until it doesn't. Full throttle is instant lose your license territory. And the craziest part? It does it drama-free. It's euphoric, but controlled. You'll never reach its full capability in normal driving. It has grip, stability, and confidence like nothing else. With 1,500 horsepower, you'd expect it to feel scary. But Bugatti engineered out the fear. And left only the good stuff. Even though it's incredible, some enthusiasts criticize it. They say it's too heavy, too engineered, too expensive, not emotional enough. But I think people say that because they know they'll never drive one. I drove it, and it's amazing. Now it's time for the Doug score. The Chiron scores extremely high in weekend categories. Styling gets a 9. Acceleration gets a 10. Handling gets a 9. Fun factor gets a 10. Cool factor gets a 10. Weekend score, 48 out of 50. Daily score is where it gets interesting. Features get a 6, no radar cruise, no blind spot monitors. Comfort gets a 5, which is great for a car like this. Quality gets a 7, beautiful, but ownership costs are scary. Practicality gets a 1, tiny cargo space, massive attention. Value gets a 6, nothing else combines this performance and luxury, but it's still $3 million. Daily score, 25 out of 50. Total Doug score, 73 out of 100. That makes it the Doug score champion, by just 1 point. And honestly, for this price, it better be.